Hello, friends. It's been a minute since I've done a live, and I just had a really beautiful experience in a container I'm in with Amber Dancy. If you know who she is, we talk a lot about human design and business, and interestingly, today we were talking about resilience and the areas in which we struggle with resilience, where we have potentially some past painful experiences that prevent us from um, really stepping out of past painful experiences and hi Lisa and into uh more vulnerable and courageous and uh grounded and aligned states of existence. And so I've been thinking about this a lot lately. So for those of you who I don't know or who haven't seen, I was recently diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, suspected lupus, and it's the experience that I've had leading up until that diagnosis, and now that the diagnosis is here, the experience of uncertainty of not knowing what was going on, and then all the way to getting a clear idea of what was happening and really looking at the shifts that I needed to make personally in order to recover. It's been a really interesting experience. And for me, in the trauma world, a lot of times when we look at chronic illness, there can be connections to trauma, to past painful experiences, to nervous system dysregulation. And for autoimmune disorders in particular, in women, there are some correlations between really having a lot of self-protective measures, protecting your parts of yourself from other parts of yourself, right? Cutting off pieces and parts of yourself in order to fit in or to be able to experience safety to the best of our ability. And so this has been a really eye-opening and clarifying experience for me, and especially from a work perspective, because I, like many humans that I know, was a very quote unquote high achieving person, 4 degrees, got 4 degrees while in the midst of all of that, getting married and having 3 kids, including twins, and working in critical care settings and teaching and working 60 to 80-hour weeks and starting a business with a full-time job and, really growing and shifting and changing and doing all of these things. And something that really came through for me through that experience was, and that I'm realizing now that I'm through a lot of that, is that I thought I had a specific mindset and I thought that I was operating in a certain state of existence. And it turns out that I was doing a really good job of still cutting off a piece and a part of myself. And interestingly, I've been seeing and hearing a lot of humans, women in particular, talking about going through a similar experience and living their life in a similar state. And so I wanted to come on and talk about this today because I want to share my experience, and I want to share how shifting my state is allowing me to heal and allowing me to recover and allowing me to really ensure that I don't continue down the path of depletion and malnourishment and my body literally saying, hey, we can't do this anymore. So I'm going to talk about this from the business perspective because my work, right, the work I do in the world is inside of a business. It is as a business owner, as a CEO, and as a founder. For a lot of people, this is directly applicable to the work that you do if somebody else is the business owner and you work inside of the business, or you work with the business as an independent contractor or as a consultant or whatever. But I'm going to talk about it from the business perspective because I think that is what's most directly applicable. And I do think that you can apply this in lots of different ways. So there are two states we can really operate within, and we can approach the work, the mission, and the vision that we have for the work that we are really feel like we're here to do in the world. And one of them is a state of doing, right? It is a state of productivity, it is a state of tying our success to results. And that it's a state of tying our ability and our identity to our results, right? If I am good, if I am right, if I am smart, if I am strong, if I am talented, if I am skilled, if I am experienced, if I am knowledgeable, if I am blank, then I should be able to get these results, right? And what's interesting about this is that sounds like a state of being, right? It sounds like a state of being because you're saying, if I'm being this thing, then I'll get these results. And this is something that I actually used to teach. I used to talk about, okay, first we're going to be the thing, and then we're going to do the thing, and then we're going to have the thing. It's not first I'm going to do the thing, and then I'm going to get the thing, and then I'm going to be the thing. It's first I'm going to be the thing, I'm going to embody the thing, and then I'll do things, and then I'll get what I want. Here's the issue with that. It doesn't matter if you start with be or do. The thing that matters is that all of that focuses on the results. So it's, I will be a certain way, or I will do a certain thing. And by doing that, or by being that, I will get this thing. And then by getting this thing, it will prove that I am this way. And that is an exhausting mindset. That is an absolutely exhausting mindset, right? Believing that I have to show up and prove that I am a certain way in order to get certain things. I have to be good in order to get this. I have to be right in order to get this. I have to be X. I have to already have arrived in order. I have to already be the thing fully and completely and wholly in order to get the thing I want. I lived in this mentality for a really long time. I lived in this state of first I'll be, first I'll do. I lived in the first I'll do, and then I'll have, and then I'll be, which is what I really want. I really want to be this thing. And then I was like, oh, I'm so evolved, and now I'm going to shift. So first I'm going to be the thing, and then I'm going to do the things from that state, and then I'm going to get what I want. The idea that I need to be something, some kind of way. And if I'm not that kind of way, that I can't have what I want. That is exhausting. Because what it does is it frames my view from the perspective of constant judgment and evaluation of myself. It frames my viewpoint. It focuses me in on, am I this thing or am I not this thing? Am I being the way that I'm supposed to be, or am I not being the way that I'm supposed to be? And I don't know about y'all, but as a girl, as a woman, I really there is something inside of me where I just want to be right. I want to do the right thing. Not I want to be right. Like I want to do the right thing. I want to be good. And the way that I be good is by always doing the right thing according to everybody around me and myself. Do you know how hard it is to be good? Do you know how hard it is to do the right thing all the time? Do you know how hard it is to look at our actions and go, well, I didn't do the right thing, so that means I'm not good. So that means that I'm not going to get what I want. This perspective causes a constant need for self-judgment and a constant need to prove yourself to other people based on their judgments. And really, the biggest thing is it causes us to constantly feel like we need to manipulate ourselves. How do I shift myself? How do I shift myself? How do I fix myself? How do I be better? How do I be more good? How do I be more right? How do I be more successful? How do I be these things? And a lot of us get our worth tied up in this too. Any of y'all get your worth tied up in what you do and how you be? And you're like, well, I'm a worthy human when I can prove to others that I'm being blank. Or I'm a worthy human when I can produce or do what other people want me to do. Or I can produce or do the right thing. I can produce or do the thing that makes me good, that makes me successful, that makes me blank. In order to be able to consistently be in this state of being or doing, in order to get a result, this results focused state. In order to stay here, you have to cut off pieces and parts of yourself. You have to be unkind to yourself. You have to judge yourself. You have to evaluate yourself. And you have to be mean and unkind to other people too. Because if they're not good, you can't be connected to them or their behavior. If they're not right, you can't be connected to them or their behavior. If they're not successful, you can't be connected to them or their behavior. If they're judging you, they're either right or wrong. One of you has to be right. One of you has to be wrong. One of you has to be good. One of you has to be bad. If we don't have the same perspective, one of us has to be good. One of us has to be bad. One of us has to be right. One of us has to be wrong. One of us has to be the thing that we judge and perceive as better than the other. And this state of focusing on results, this state and this perspective of like, I'm just gonna focus on growing, on being the best I can, on being the best. I'm gonna focus on being good. I'm gonna focus on being these things. Y'all, you can't focus on being a judgment. If you hear nothing else in this, invitation to listen to this again. If your focus, if your state is, I do things and I be things in order to be judged a certain way. There are 8 billion people on this planet. What is the likelihood that all of them watch your behavior, watch how you show up, and agree that you are good, agree that you are right, agree that you are successful, agree that you are whatever? What's the likelihood of that? What is the likelihood that someone, somewhere, in some place along the way is going to go, hey, you're not good. You're bad. You're wrong. Your choices are bad and wrong. I'm judging you. I'm evaluating you. If anybody remembers the movie A Knight's Tale, you've been weighed, measured, and found wanting. What if? What if the state of being and the state of doing that is result focused? Just get on the internet for a minute and you will know how wrong you are about everything. Absolutely. That's so good, Lisa. See right there, I judged. That's so good. See how pervasive that is in our language? I'm sitting here being like, let's not be like this. And I just did it. That's how pervasive it is. And if I was judging myself, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so wrong for saying that. Oh my gosh, I didn't show up the way I wanted to on the live. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't go live anymore. I'm so bad at going live. I shouldn't share what I think about anything because look, I was teaching people how to do something and I was talking to them and I was preaching for a minute and then I did it wrong. I'm making fun of myself. Jokingly, because that's how I used to talk to myself. And there's still a few places in my life that I'm personally working on that I'm like, oh, I know this is tied to how I'm feeling right now. I know this is tied to my current health scenario. I know this is tied to my holistic wellness. Where people give me feedback on my actions, where people share the impact of the thing that I did with intent. And I get so defensive and I get so upset and I go into an immediate threat response because I'm in that state of results focus. Well, I did this because I wanted you to be happy. No, I did this because I wanted to manipulate you into happiness so I could feel like I was good. I did this because I wanted to manipulate you into feeling some kind of way, because when you feel some kind of way, you judge me more favorably. I can't separate you sharing the impact of my actions from who I am as a person. I can't separate those. So when you evaluate my words or you evaluate my actions or you evaluate the choices and the things that I do, I make it about who I am. The world is constantly proving if I am right or wrong with about who I am trying to be as it judges me. And again, that's freaking exhausting. I can't live like that anymore. My body has literally said, Lee, you can't live like this anymore. You are sick. Your needs are not being met. The call I was just on, we were talking and I had this huge realization around, I said, well, I feel like everybody follows me on the internet and I feel like I love speaking with people and I love the call that I did earlier today in our trips program. It was incredible. And I was just there and I was connecting with people and I was just being without worrying about the result. And I said, I love doing that. And I love just showing up like that. And I'm so tired because in so many places, I'm feeling this urge to just talk more and share more and go live more and say what I want to say and be how I want to be, without the focus being on if people perceive it, or they judge it as good or bad or right or wrong, because that's not the point. I am realizing that the state that I want to operate in is a state of acceptance. I want to work and I want to show up in a state of acceptance. Am I accepting myself? Am I open and accepting of Meaning, I'm not judging. Acceptance is not judging as something is good or bad. I accept that other people do not enjoy what I say. I accept that other people love what I say at times. I accept that I like to talk. I accept that there's things I want to say and places I want to say them. I accept that other people get to do whatever they want with that. And if that includes judging me, that is theirs to do. The state of acceptance versus the state of judgment is, you know what? This person feels the way they feel. And they're as open to changing that as they are. I may be able to shift that. I may not. I may be able to see more of their perspective. I may not. I may be able to develop a relationship with this person. I may not. Whatever happens, happens. And if I'm stepping out of a place of focusing on manipulation and judgment, and instead stepping into, how do I feel right now? What do I want to say? Knowing that however people perceive it, I can hold it. What do I want to say? How do I want to allow myself to be seen? Right? How do I want to allow myself to be seen? So many people that I'm connected with, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, social media, right? So many of y'all are business owners too. So many of you have jobs in which you are trying to control the perception of how people see you based on your judgment, your conditioning of what is good and what is bad, and what is right and what is wrong, and what is successful and what is unsuccessful. And a lot of y'all are exhausted too. I know you are. I hear you. I see you. I hear it in behind closed doors in our program. I see it. I see how tired you are of being judged, and I see how tired you are of like judging yourself and trying to mold and manipulate yourself into something that other people will be accepting of, or not accepting of, positively judgmental about. When in reality, all you want is to be accepted. That's what you want. You want other people to approach you with acceptance. And I'm going to say a rude thing. How on earth can people approach you with acceptance when you are operating from a state of judgment? How can people approach you with acceptance? Easily, right? There's some of us out there that are actually very trained to do this, and it's still hard sometimes. We still judge sometimes. There are some of us who have practiced, hear me, have practiced being in a state of acceptance. And the more you practice being in a state of acceptance, the easier it is to be accepting even when other people are being judgmental. And how can people step to you easily in an accepting way when you are not accepting yourself and you are not accepting others? You got to get really honest. You got to get really honest about how you're manipulating yourself and how you are manipulating other people from this state of judgment, from this state of results focus. Well, if I do this, if I fix this in me, if I be this, if I change this, if I do this, then other people will blank. Or if I can get other people to do blank, then I will feel, then I will be, then I will have the result. Aren't you tired? I'll say another rude thing that I say quite often, and it's a curiosity question. If that was going to work for you, wouldn't it have worked by now? How's that working for you? Our world has been conditioned to judge. Our world has been conditioned through a lot of painful experiences to restrict and constrict and disconnect from ourselves and from others and from the world, because we have gone a long time without having our need met for acceptance. And acceptance isn't approval, because approval is judgment. Acceptance is, I see you. I see you in your belief. I see you in your feelings. I see you in your thoughts. I see you in your perspective. It doesn't mean I agree with it. It doesn't mean I approve of it. And I can stay connected to you and be in relationship with you and not judge you. I can love you and accept you and not judge your behavior to be something that I would personally want to do, or as being good or right. And if I can't start from a place of acceptance, if I can't start from a state of, it is what it is. This person in front of me feels the way they feel right now. This person in front of me believes what they believe right now. If I'm going to judge that as wrong or bad, there's nowhere to go. If I'm having a feeling or I have a belief and there's a part of me that's like, oh, that's a bad belief, or oh, we shouldn't be feeling that way, there's nowhere to go. I'm trapped. Okay. Invitation, if this resonates with you, to pay attention to just today or tomorrow, in the week. Am I in a state of acceptance? Or am I in a state of judgment toward myself, toward others, towards the world? Notice the places and spaces you're in and how judgmental they are. How much are we judging as good or bad, right or wrong? Where are we focused on evaluating humans and their goodness or their worthiness or their value based on if they are doing what we think they should or not? And how are you doing that with yourself? If you're in a lot of those spaces, if your business is set up that way, let's talk. I am a cautionary tale, y'all. I am a cautionary tale in some ways. And that is a little bit, I know that's just accepting. A lot of you hearing like autoimmune disease, hearing lupus, hearing that level of pain and fatigue and exhaustion, you're like, and brain fog and confusion and other things, you're like, oh, heck no, I don't want that. Okay. What state are you going to approach that from? What state are you going to approach your health, your business, your life from? Invitation to think about that. Now, the cool part is that since I've started practicing this acceptance work, I'm already feeling better. I'm noticing my energy levels improving. I'm noticing my pain levels getting better. And I'm also noticing when I go back into a state of judgment and when I go back into a state of self-judgment, it's interesting how much worse I feel. That's not to say, right? Like, I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm not your nurse practitioner. I'm not diagnosing, treating, doing any of that here. And it's been an interesting correlation for me to notice that the more I've started to accept myself and just be like, look, you are the way you are. This is the way it is. And that gets to shift in a way that you desire to shift it, not out of judgment, out of desire. If I'm like, oh, you know what? My joints hurt right now. Or, you know what? I've got some clients and I'm not, oh, yeah, I said yes because it was good money and oh, I don't know that it's feeling well. Okay, I can approach that with judgment and call myself bad or wrong. Or I can ask myself, okay, well, that is what it is. And what would I like to do about that? How would I like to approach that? From this place of I love myself and I care about myself and I love other people and I care about other people. I have these ways of existing that feel really good for me, and I don't say feel good from the sense of like I'm judging they're good or bad, but like they bring my nervous system back into regulation. When I operate in these ways, I feel more regulated in my body. When I operate in these ways, I notice that it's easier to just be and to accept. Huh, interesting. Right? Maybe there's some places that you're operating from judgment and you get to ask yourself those questions. I love you all. I accept you and I see you for who you are and how you want to be in the world. I believe that you get to do things from a place of self-acceptance. And I believe that you get to have things from a place of self-acceptance. And I believe that you get to be things and who you are from a place of self-acceptance and with other people's acceptance too. I believe you get to surround yourself with people who operate in a state of acceptance. And guess what? The call's coming from inside the house. It's inner work. And you can start, the inner work can start by putting yourself in spaces and places where people are more accepting, or when they notice you judging yourself, they go, hey, I noticed that you are saying some things that sound, I think they sound judgmental. Would you agree? Okay. What's going on? How are you feeling? Why do you think that is? Right? I love you. And when I talk about myself that way, I know that I'm experiencing some judgment. And so I thought you might be experiencing some judgment, and I'd love to just see you in that. Putting yourself in spaces like that is a really, really great way to start noticing just how judgmental you are of yourself and others in the world. So that's a piece of the inner work that you can do if it feels good for you, if it feels aligned, if it feels regulating for you. So I love you and I see you. And I hope this is helpful. And like I said, I'm here. If you want to chat about this more, I'm here. Let's do it. If not, I accept that.